Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of B is for Build. I'm Chris. I'm stoked to be back in the shop. I'm super ready to roll. First thing we gotta do is I gotta undo everything that I did in the last episode. So I'm gonna grab the sander and sand down the three panels, the two side panels and the front bumper back down to where they started, and then we can set back up and start spraying again. I've improved the air compressor situation, I've improved the shop situation, and I've made other small improvements, and I think that we're really set up for a win on this paint job this go around. I'm very confident. I reviewed what we did on this last panel, the last things we did, and that white that we did with the smaller gun turned out really great. I've talked to some painting experts and I've gotten some tips, and I'm ready to apply all those tips, and I think we're really set up for a good chance to have a good paint job here. So I got a lot of work to do with the sanding first, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. Stay tuned. Alright, well this is going to take absolutely forever, but luckily for you guys it'll just go in time lapse and zip right by. So I'll check back in with you guys after I get done sanding this bumper. Alright, we got one panel down, and it only took 2 hours. It's kind of crazy, like about 10 minutes of paint can take 2 hours to undo. So, it's 11 o'clock right now. I think I got enough time and enough energy left in me to do one more panel. So I'm going to try and do one more panel, and then early in the morning I'll get the next one done. So I'm going to put this aside, cut this bad boy down, and start sanding it. Alright, second panel is complete. With this one, I didn't go all the way down to the raw fiberglass. What I did was all the parts that are visible to the outside of the car, I just took very special care to sand them down completely flat so there's no like bumps or anything. And then the parts like, for instance, over there that are not seen by the car, I just gave them a decent sanding, but they're not like ultra smooth like these parts are over here. So everything like this is visible to the outside of the car. This piece is a big piece I spent a lot of time on. These are all like perfectly flat and smooth. So that's all cleaned up. Now we have the other side panel to go, which has paint on it. So it's got 2 layers of primer and then paint. So that's gonna be a challenging one, but we'll just bust through it because at the end I get to start painting again. Woohoo! Alright, after 8 hours of sanding, I feel like I've learned my lesson for spraying bad paint. That's definitely the last time you're going to hear me say like, oh, I'll just finish off this panel for practice. The amount of sanding that goes into undoing that practice is astronomical. So next step, I'm going to hang the panels back up, get everything positioned in the right spot where I want to paint it, and then we'll start cleaning them and prepping the area for paint. Alright, well as you can see we're set back up. Slightly bit different configuration, but I think in the end this is actually much better. So I reversed these 2 panels, and then that made room for the bumper over there. So last time you saw on the bumper that our primer started getting fish eyes and separating, that was definitely from contaminants on the surface. Now I don't normally get too many contaminants on the surface because I wear gloves, but something could have got on my gloves or something else and got on there. So I have a paint prep spray that I'm going to be doing a much better of spraying on all the materials. It's a degreaser, dewaxer, and that'll help us make sure that we don't run into that issue again. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So I'm going to spray everything down with that, and then tack cloth, and then we'll get to painting. Alright, I made a few changes since the last time we painted, so here's what I've done. This time I made sure to wet the floor, as well as on the air compressor I added an expansion tank, 11-gallon expansion tank, so that gets me 21 gallons total of compressed air. Now that doesn't improve the cubic feet per minute of output that my air compressor can do, but per charge cycle I'll have more air charged up. The last thing I did was I added a better regulator that will regulate the air pressure a little bit better on this gun and hopefully keep it more even. But this is the other gun, this is the small gun that I've used before, so I got a lot more faith in it. All right, so we're ready. It's finally time to paint again. Here we go. Alright, first coat went on great. We had no more fish eyes, no more of that weird shit. Everything's looking glossy and looking nice. You can paint about 15 minutes after you do a coat. You can come back and do the next one. And this took so long because I'm using that little gun that I can just keep going now. So I'm just jumping right back onto this bumper. The air compressor does feel like it's doing better. It doesn't seem like it's running to try and catch up as much. So maybe that added 10 gallons really did help. So I'm going to go ahead and start spraying round coat number 2 on the bumper, and same deal, and then I'll move over to that side panel and the next side panel. Alright, so after our second coat of base coat, since the last clip you guys saw, it's been about 4 or 5 hours. So what happened was I got a run right here in this panel. It's the only run that I've gotten. Since the smaller gun sprays such a small amount of material, it's really hard to get a run. You almost have to purposely try to do it. And what I was doing is I was being dumb and I was trying to fill in. I saw a little scratch that I got from sanding too hard with some high grit sandpaper. I didn't get it sanded out enough. You know, that's bound to happen. So I tried to fill it in with the sealer primer, so I just sprayed super thick, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, and obviously the run didn't show up right here where I was trying to do it. The run showed up way down here where I globbed on too much paint. So I was being a noob, I was doing something I knew I shouldn't have done, but I tried to do it anyways, and whatever, I made a mistake. So I gave it 4 or 5 hours to dry, and now I'm back. I got some 600 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna sand out that run. I'm gonna tack cloth off everything, and then we're gonna go for our for our first coat of our color, our single stage color, which is a white. So one thing I will say about this is interesting. I was kind of getting down on myself a little bit earlier because I was kind of bummed about some of the orange peel that was in the panels. And just remember, if you're doing this at home, that this paint is self-leveling, and the second you spray it in the 10 minutes after, that's not its finished point. I came back 4 hours later and it is like so much better. It did its job and it kind of leveled itself out and leveled out a lot of the uneven parts. So I'm very happy with the way that all the primer has turned out on all of these parts. The bumper looks amazing. I mean, everything's turning out great. The only bad part is we do have a little bit of problem with dust, which reminds me I'm gonna wet the floor one more time before I start spraying. But overall, everything's looking great. I'm very happy with the results. They're totally on par with what I expect to get out of this paint job. So, no more talking. I'm gonna continue working. I'm gonna sand this out. We're gonna tack cloth everything down and spray our color. Let's do it. We let the panels dry up overnight, and here are the results. It's the next morning and this came out really great. This is by far the best paint job that I've done on a car, and I think the reasons are because I sprayed white, and white is the easiest color of paint to spray. It hides a lot of your mistakes, and also because I sprayed single stage, and I think single stage is probably a little bit easier to paint. Although if you spray two-stage, base coat, clear coat, you can always sand out your clear coat, and that can really help you along from what I've heard. But this was pretty simple, pretty easy. So I made one big mistake here. You painting guys watching will know. The masking tape right here needs to come off when the paint's still wet or tacky. I screwed that up, so I should have pulled that off. Now what's going to happen is I got to pull it off right now and hope that the paint separates correctly and the tape doesn't take off the paint from the bumper. So that could be bad. So I'm going to very carefully do that, and then I'm going to put these panels away, and then I'll move the front and the rear clamshell into this area, and we'll start working on those. All right, we got the rear and the front clamshell all set up. Now both of these caught some overspray from the previous painting session, so what I'm gonna need to do is clean these up with some sandpaper. I'm just gonna go with hand with some 400 and some 600 to clean these both up before we do the paint prep with the cleaning solvents, and then the masking. We're gonna mask off the trunk and the corner or the side lights on the front clamshell. Now, the masking on the front bumper did not go well. One, I did not use good enough quality tape, and paint got in under the tape, so that's a bummer, so I bought better tape. And the other thing is when it peeled off, well, the paint that got underneath the tape is laying on that carbon fiber part. So I've got a strategy for that. Once the paint is nice and dried up and hardened up on that, I have a plan. I'm gonna use a little barrier, and I'm gonna use some of that, a little bit of acetone, and I'll just rub off the paint. We have extra paint, not too little paint, so it's not really that big of a problem. You can always just remove paint with some acetone or something. So that was screwed up. I need to remember to remove masking tape at the right time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started hand sanding both of these. All right, I got everything prepped up, everything set up. It's time to go ahead and spray primer. Woohoo! First coat of sealer primer went on very nicely. I'm very happy with the way everything went on. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and mix up paint for the second round of sealer primer. I'm gonna cut the camera, and when I come back, we'll be ready to spray the white. All right, I've sprayed a second coat of the sealer primer on here and given it 30 minutes to dry. So now I've got our single stage white in here, and it's time to go ahead and spray. Alright, we just got done spraying our second layer of the white paint on here. So we are done painting these massive body panels. These are going to be the hardest part. The only thing that's left is the door, door panels, which we're going to have to do in another episode. How to summarize? I'm very happy with it. That's how I'm going to summarize it. I think I did a good job, and with the tools that I had, and I'm very happy with it. There's some dust in the panels because we did not have a dust-proof, area, so a little bit of dust did creep up. There are some like dry sprays and stuff like that, but overall it was a very successful painting session, and these panels just need to dry up overnight. So another thing is all the body work that we did, like for instance this whole area had body work done to it. It all came out really great. So everything's looking good, car looks good, panels look good. I'm very excited to start getting these on the car. And yeah, that was a win. That was definitely a win. All right, guys. The paint fumes are getting in my head, so I gotta try and make this quick. This was fun. Done. See you tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. Paint went okay. Paint went great, actually. It's very cool. Every like 30 minutes or so, when you look back at the paint, it's self-leveling even more. It gets even smoother. I think it has some kind of elastic properties as well. Seriously, the paint fumes, guys. And it just gets smoother every time I look back. So it's great. This was a lot of fun, a lot of work. A lot of work goes into this. I think I spent 1 hour painting. For every 1 hour painting, I think I spent 10 hours prepping just in this episode alone. So that doesn't even count all the setting up of the shop. So that's a lot of prep. Should show you guys kind of how much work goes into it. So props to all the professional painters out there. Your job is very, very tough. Thank you guys for tuning in. In a later episode, we'll take care of the doors and the rear bumper panel whenever the rear bumper panel comes in. If you want more BS for Build, head over to facebook.com/BS for Build, and we are BS for Build on Instagram. If you like what we do and you want to help support BS for Build, you think those guys are awesome, I would like a keychain with this so I can rep the BS for Build. I would love that. And thank you guys all that do that already. That's very cool. But if you would like to do that, head over to bsforbuild.com, scroll down to the shop, pick yourself up a shirt or a hat or anything else like that. All the proceeds of that go directly into supporting these builds and supporting what we do and keeping us moving along. which we really need because we got new builds coming right around the corner, and those are, they're spendy. I'm not a charity case. I'll be okay with that. But, you know, anyways, if you like to support, I love having your guys' support. It's very fun. So I think that's about it. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. I hope this was fun. If you want to do this on your own, my only big tip, hint thing is that using that detail gun can be a good way to do smaller size projects. And you can get good results with it. Just spraying a detail gun because it uses less air. All right, that's it. I can't wait for the next episode. I want to put side panels on the car in the next episode. I'm very excited, and we will do that midweek this week. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Peace.
Come on.